Welcome on in, everybody, to the Monday edition of Alarm Fantasy Football. This is the one where we go in and we kind of break down some behind-the-scenes stuff that you guys might have missed. You know, you're hanging out, watching Red Zone, watching your favorite teams game intently, maybe hanging out with some friends, having some beers. That's what holiday season is all about, you know? So you might have missed all the nitty-gritty, numbers in terms of snaps and routes and who got the pass plays, who got the run plays, all that. That's what Iggy and I are here to do. We break that stuff down. We dig in. We give you that info. Today, we got to be out early because we have some time constraints with the work we got to do and the stuff leading into playoffs here. So no fooling around. Iggy, quit fooling around.
All right. No worries. I'll do my best. We can stay on top of it right here with the Seattle versus the Falcons, the Bird match, the Bird Bowl. Whatever you want to call it. This is a Shaheed bust-out game. I don't know if it was just returning back to a familiar stadium, coming back to the NFC South. But, man, he had that return for a touchdown that pretty much just put the game out of reach right then and there. But he also had more snaps. Or had the same amount of snaps, but he just had more production. So is he trustable for the playoffs? I think so in deeper leagues. If you're not, maybe look elsewhere. Here's the conundrum again. Just when we thought we were clear for the playoffs, here we go. Kenneth Walker III. Load it up, baby. Get him going. He had 35 snaps to Charbonnet's 25 snaps, but Charbonnet outproduced him. I don't know if it's just because the game was out of reach. It makes that doubt creep in for the playoffs. You're probably still going to start Kenneth Walker III, though. Shifting over to the Falcons, 10 targets, 6 catches, 90 yards. And who are we talking about? No, not Drake London. We're talking about Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts, everybody. Is he going to be a playoff hero, Coop? I got to ask you real quick before I go through the rest of this.
I tell you, man, I'm back in. I told Bender 2 weeks ago, I was like, look, if he doesn't do anything here against the Panthers, then I'm out. He had the 2 down weeks, and I was like, you know what? We got to be out. But then he had the big bounce back against the Jets. Howard and I were split this week. He was out because Julian Love was back. I was looking at the Vegas odds. They had him set at 5.5 receptions, 53.5 yards. I was like, look, Vegas loves him. He hit the over on both of them. Awesome. I think I'm back in, man. So there you go. Kyle Pitts back on the menu, folks.
We'll see if Drake London comes back. They could just be like, hey, we're done. Right. But Raheem Morris might be playing for his coaching career. So he might be like, you know what? You're back out there, So just keep it in mind when we're going forward. When we look at the running back position, another one of those anomalies, Bijan had 43 snaps. Algier had 25 offensive snaps. Both low flex plays in production, tough match. I mean, you're going to start Bijan. He's not somebody you're going to sit, I don't think, ever in the situation. But Algier, he's always kind of a flex option. He's been working as a flex these past couple of weeks, in 12-team, 14, 16-team leagues. So just keep that in mind as well. You just can't trust the Atlanta wide receivers. Kirk Cousins isn't. He doesn't have it anymore to get it to those guys necessarily. Mooney did have the touchdown, I believe, right, called back. Or was it? No, I stayed as a touchdown, and so you just can't trust them. You're not gonna put your Week 15 playoff hopes on those guys.
No chance.
No wrap it up for that game.
Yeah. So about what I saw as well. Next one here: Steelers Ravens. Steelers won here, and as always with the Steelers, they seem to talk a lot of trash once they do win. Best team came out on top, and all that stuff they were saying. So good for them. In terms of the usage. The negative game script for a good chunk of the game did see Jaylen Warren play a little more than saw Kenneth Gainwell play a decent amount. You saw 26 snaps for Warren, 25 for Gainwell. In the big blowout wins where they're like really playing out front, you see a lot more Warren. When they play behind, you see more Gainwell. We see a lot of that with a lot of these teams. Both these guys can be started depending on where you're at, but it's still Warren over Gainwell because he's the starter. In terms of pass catchers, DK Metcalf had a monster week. And he led the team in routes run, 33 routes out of possible 35, right? The big change here came with Adam Thielen, right? Comes out off the wire, out of nowhere, as Adam Thielen does. I just want to remind people that last year, when Adam Thielen came back from an insanely bad hamstring injury, where he almost had to have surgery, he came back, and from when he returned week 13 or so through the end of the year, he was the wide receiver 13. He won a bunch of people best ball. Like the guy that won Underdog had Adam Thielen. It's you never know who's going to show up at crunch time and help you win. I mean, if you really think about it, Amon-Ra St. Brown as a rookie didn't do anything until week 13. Guys like Hunter Renfrow didn't break out. Like, you got to keep an eye to see who's going to show up. Now, here's the thing. Out of 35 routes, he only ran 19. he played only 25 of 52 snaps, but that was more than Calvin Austin. It was more than Marcus Alexander. So he's trending up. You can drop any of those other guys if you're holding him. And then maybe you had Thielen in those deeper leagues, right? Stop this full things like that. For the tight end, they started off with the typical rotation we see. Darnell Washington suffered a concussion. So when he was out, Pat Freiermuth ran 22 routes. Johnny ran 12. Still, again, 22 out of 35 isn't doing it for us. But hey, maybe now we're one more tight end injury away from maybe being able to.
How dare you, my guy Washington, dude? My guy Washington going down.
I know your big dog Washington. Well, we'll see. He could clear concussion protocol and be back. But Freiermuth is the dart throw if you want to use one there. Anything else on the Steelers before we move on?
Yeah, old man Rodgers with Daniel Jones going down. Go get your comeback player of the year award. And he could pull it off. We could see this happen.
Yeah, we got a Colts fan in the chat here that needs as much support as possible. Our guy Bernhard. I mean, I know why I can't put his thing up on the screen right now, but the thing is, I also have a ton of Daniel Jones in best ball. Yeah. A lot of my teams that are getting through to the next level, I think on underdog, I got about 30 teams that are getting through to the next round in the best ball mania, and I think 7 of them have Daniel Jones, which that hurts. I mean, you have multiple quarterbacks for a reason, but losing the quarterback never a good thing, man.
Best ball bro status, bro. That's best ball. You're there.
Best ball. You guys just gotta make it happen, dude. But we'll see. We've already lost a couple guys there. Let us know in the chat if you made the playoffs or not. We're going through, hitting on all the key things, but we'd love to know how close you are if you need things to happen tonight. In Scott Fishbowl, I have both my quarterbacks going tonight, Justin Herbert and Jalen Hurts. I need at least one of them to do something. I need them to combine probably for about 25 or more points for me to make it. On the Ravens side, Derrick Henry got a ton of carries here. It's his time of year, 25 carries for him. With Justice Hill out, we saw the same trend we saw last week. Rasheen Ali stepped into that pass down role. So he's kind of the Justice Hill. And then Keaton Mitchell's the backup for Derrick Henry, but Keaton Mitchell left this game with a knee injury. So it kind of leaves them really thin at running back right now. Rasheen Ali is the next guy up. We'll see what happens to Keaton Mitchell, though. Could be a minor thing, but he left the game and did not come back. As for pass catchers, Zay Flowers, obviously a guy that you start where you have him. In most cases, 11 targets for him, 95 targets for him on the season. Next closest to him is 57 targets for Mark Andrews on the season. So kind of hard to trust any of those guys in that capacity. But this week they get the Cincinnati Bengals, who are they're the stone worst team I've ever seen against tight end by far. Rich Rebar put a tweet out that the next worst team in terms of production allowed was 2015. I think it was the Falcons or something. And the Bengals have already allowed more fantasy points on the season than that team. It is just crazy how bad they've been. So start all your tight ends against the Bengals here. Even though Likely got 5 targets and Andrews only got 2, Andrews ran 36 out of a possible 42 routes. Likely only ran 22. So they're still using Andrews more. That makes it tough. This isn't like a Harold Fannin and David Njoku situation where Njoku stopped playing and Fannin was getting all the usage. Andrews is still playing ahead, which means we can't really just kind of flip them. Anything else on the Steelers-Ravens before we move on?
Yeah, Andrews instead of Mason Taylor might have cost me in the Kings. We'll see. But just it's the AFC North. We don't know what's going to happen.
Mason Taylor blocked on 10 pass plays last week, so I don't blame you for starting Andrews, man. Yeah, 10 pass plays blocking is useless to me.
No, I get it, dude. Looking at definitely the game that lived up to the biggest expectations. The snow could not stop the madness that fantasy football got to enjoy between Joe Burrow and Josh Allen. Burrow, man, you just talked about a best ball monster. How about Joe Burrow? I feel like the past 2 seasons, weeks 14 through 18, he's just been like a different level, and he's there again. He's got everybody healthy. I mean, they looked amazing. They just don't have a defense. Like Coop said, they just don't have an NFL defense. That's all it boils down to. Brown, when we look at the running back situation, had 40 snaps. Just Samaje's 22 offensive snaps. Brown was really saved by a touchdown. Neither one of them had great production. It was really Joe Burrow go win this game for us, because I forget what his streak was of wins as a starter. It was double digits, but it came crashing to a halt in Orchard Park, I believe. Higgins, Chase, Gesicki, all had great games. Gesicki, I can't believe it. Like I told you, I dropped him. I was like, he's just not going to know who's going to do well on this team. It's going to be difficult to tell. And He went out and almost led the team in production. Higgins actually led the team in yards. Chase still had a good game, though. I think all three of those, or I think those two, you're starting pretty much regardless. What about Gesicki? Are you trusting him for the playoffs?
No.
No.
I'll trust him. If one of the wide receivers gets hurt, then I lean on guys like that. But I really don't like guys that are clear third fiddle players and are not running a full route participation. Like in some of these, the thing you run into with some of these games, Chris, is that like he'll play a ton if it's a competitive game or they're playing from behind.
Yeah.
But if they get ahead, you see more Drew Sample and Noah Fant. So for instance, in this game, Drew Sample played 27 snaps. Gesicki played 25. Fant played 25. That's out of 60. So just kind of hard to trust that from week to week. More of like a DFS play when you think they're going to be playing from behind, or it's going to be a game like this where it's kind of shootout,
Yeah, that's my point. I think it's going to be false hope for people. You're going to get that big week 14. People are going to chase those points with Gesicki, and it's not going to be there next week. So just be mindful of that. That's why I asked our tight end whisperer. I look at the Bills here, man. Allen and Cook are studs. Cook got undervalued again somehow this year on a team that we knew wanted to run the ball and play good defense. All right. McDermott, any defensive coordinator that cracks it as a head coach, that's going to be their philosophy. Very few of them are going to be like, yeah, let's just go out there and chunk the rock 50, 45 times and just, win the game. It's just not how they made their way in this industry. So you're not going to see that too much. And Allen, just because of his pure rushing ability, his passing ability, he's just so good, man. He's just amazing. I just have to comment on him. No point saying sit or start. Here's where the conundrum comes up. He can't make a consistent person receive the other end of those points. This time it was Knox, man. And this is finally what I've wanted. This is what I've envisioned for the Buffalo since they've had this, man. Knox, Kincaid are going to be the two most reliable starters because Knox was great before Kincaid gets there. People forget that. You could get him basically at the back end of drafts, and he was producing middle of the pack. He was a high tight end 1, low tight end 2. And, reverse that, low tight end 1 and high tight end 2. But it's 7 targets, 6 receptions, 93 yards, and he caught the 2-point conversion that might have got lost in all this. Just a banger day for a tight end that probably was started in, I'm assuming, less than 8% of leagues. And then Dalton Kincaid, 5 touches, 4 receptions, 41 yards, had the crucial touchdown in the game point.
Huge.
That was the third big touchdown at that point of the game. And then, like I said, I don't know why they're not running like more of a 12 set. I mean, the studs are there. It's at the triangle. Cook, Allen, and your 2 tight ends, just run it. Shakir Coleman, 3 targets, 2 receptions, 16 yards each. Shakir was saved by a touchdown. Gabe Davis, 2 for 2, 21. I mean, I don't know how you can trust your wide receivers in a playoff game going forward for the Buffalo Bills, but somebody's going to hit. One of them are likely going to hit. This week it was Knox. And yeah, dude, it's just hard to gauge. It's a little frustrating, but somebody's going to get it.
Right. I mean, I'm just going to go ahead and start Dalton Kincaid. I can't trust Dawson Knox. And I think the end goal is to have Dalton Kincaid be the guy. He was just coming off an injury. He probably didn't have his cardio up and was used in sporadically. The touchdown definitely bailed us out. I literally turned to my wife and I was like, we did it. I was like, you don't understand because like you don't really, she's not plugged into what we do here and all these things. It's like a lot of people ask me, do I start Dalton Kincaid? And I said, hey, here's what I'm doing. I'm starting him in every league where I have him because the matchup is so good versus the Bengals. You have to do it. And I'm doing it and I don't care. And I was like, you should do it. It was like, if you don't do it, if you want to start somebody else, that's totally fine because it's a very risky play coming off the injury, but I'm doing it. And when he scored that touchdown, I was like, look, I know this doesn't make any sense to you, but that touchdown, like now I can just relax. Like now, like he gave us the bare minimum we need. So, yeah.
Well, yeah, chalk it up to the Bengals. That's what I want to say. Maybe Knox, you're not going to be able to trust it. They had a great advantage, but I just think that there's a lot of success potential in this for the Bills, but don't trust on Knox is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Next game here, Titans Browns. I mean, this was a fun one. I went back, we rewatched it this morning, and I will say this. I want to start with the Browns side. Like Shadur Sanders, say what you will, like he can throw a football. There's no doubt about it. Like that isn't a problem for him. Like the raw ability to throw a football, whether he can scramble around this or that, to be seen, but like there's no question if you watch that game yesterday that this guy can spin it. Right? He can get it out very quick.
Njoku. That was a touch pass to Njoku for the touchdown. That wasn't a bullet.
That's what I mean. He can spin it. He gets it out quickly, dude. He gets it out efficiently. So it's one of those things where I saw no reason to be a hater up front. you could be a doubter. That'd be fine, and say like, oh yeah, 5th-round quarterback. Who knows? Probably odds aren't good here, but like being a hater, you could have potentially set yourself up for having to hate this guy for 10 plus years because he could be the quarterback for the Browns. You don't know. He looked okay today. It's like again, just like we're not going to judge him based on a 1-game sample size, we're not going to judge him fully based on a 3-game sample size. But no question that he can throw the ball. And there's no question that he likes 2 players more than anybody else. And those 2 players played more than anyone else. It's Harold Fannin and Jerry Jeudy. Jerry Jeudy ran 45 routes. Fannin ran 40. Next closest guy, Cedric Tillman, ran 29. Isaiah Bond ran 26. Harold Fannin has led this team in routes run, targets, receptions, yards, everything since Shedeur Sanders took over the job. So those are your 2 guys here. David Njoku got hurt on his touchdown catch and left the game. We'll have to see what happens with him. But that's the deal there. And then running-wise, it's Quinshon Judkins on the early downs, and they like Dylan Sampson on the pass downs. And Shedeur Sanders continues to find Dylan Sampson in the pass game for these big chunk plays. So you could potentially start looking at Sampson the same way we look at Tajay Spears, a guy on the other side of this game. Let's call the segue, Iggy. You ever seen that here? You segue right into talking about the Tennessee Titans. So all year long, the Tennessee Titans on the other side, the way the running backs have worked over there is in positive game scripts, Tony Pollard plays more. And in negative game scripts, Tajay Spears plays more. They have 1 win, so they haven't had a lot of positive game scripts. This week, though, for a good chunk of the game, it was positive, and they were playing from ahead. I know the score 31-29 makes it seem close, but they kind of, Sanders had to battle back. They scored at the very end. They went for 2. They didn't get it. They were playing from ahead, and Pollard got to play a decent amount, and you saw that he's still a pretty good running back. So he played 39 snaps at 28 for Spears. Spears still got the pass work, but it's probably still going to be Spears in your full PPR leagues more often than not. But just know that if you think the the Titans stand a chance, then Pollard could have another game like this, And the elements obviously helped him a little bit with the snow and the cold, as it does with the running backs. For the pass catchers, here's how it broke down. They used a lot of 3 wide receiver sets, and they rotate the tight ends. That's kind of how they do it. So of a possible 30 routes, Shamir DK ran 26, Ilick Iyamenar ran 24, and Van Jefferson ran 23. So those guys are playing a decent amount. It's really DK and Iyamenar if you want to use anybody in fantasy. And I lean Shamir DK because he also gets that the special team stuff. Like if you have points for that in your league, or just he could randomly score a touchdown. He's an explosive player. Chigakakwo ran 21 of 30 routes. Gunnar Helm only ran 13. To be honest, unless one of those 2 guys gets hurt, I'm trying not to use either of them because they just basically what they're doing is they're calling specific plays for the players. When I went back to watch this, and like it seems like okay, they're like, let's get Chig a screen here, or we're gonna run this play where Gunnar Helm is the first read, and we know Shedeur is comfortable with that. It leads us to uncertainty, where we don't know who's going to be the guy in any given week. Again, if one of them goes down, then we'd have a guy. Also, I mean, just tremendous individual defensive players on these teams, right? If they can hold on to some of these guys, I mean, just the explosiveness from Myles Garrett, he's ridiculous. But also, like Jeffrey Simmons is he's a monster. He's a freak, right? Yeah. Like these teams have some good players, and if they keep building through the years here, and they can hold on to their great players, these teams could turn into something. It all starts with quarterback, though, right, Iggy? It's like you need Cam Ward or Shedeur or Deshaun Watson to come back. You need something there, but like there are good players on these teams.
Yeah, Alec Amenor had 1 catch for a touchdown. That's what really saved him. But yeah, I mean, if you're in a bind, I went and picked up Amenor, so it tells you where I'm at. But Shedeur, man, I think they're playing like you said was the rolling out and have him fell, but I don't think he's failing. Tony Pollard real quick had the best point. He had more points this week than his previous 4 games combined. Another player wasted away on most people's bench due to just not playing well, because he did that against one of the better rush defenses in the league. So probably just wasted away, but I don't know. I don't know if you can trust him next week or not. That's the beauty of week 14 and 15. Rolling over to the AFC South match between the Colts and the Jaguars. A lot of potential on this game. I've never seen, like I told my wife watching, I was like, come here. You have to watch somebody try to stand up on their Achilles is blown out and use it to throw a football. And it just looked like truly like a comic noodle. I don't know what else to say.
Crazy, yeah.
And I was like, you could see his leg wobbling, and I was just like, man. And I'm not somebody that like relishes in watching injuries. I don't like watching them. But I was like,
I
man, I
hate
want
it.
to call it live, and I was just like, oh, this is terrible. But you got to see it because I've never ever seen this in my life. Most of the time, people just go down. Jones tried to still throw the football. JT expect a dip for the owners. He still had great production in this game. When I look at Leonard, the question is, what is it going to be? The backup quarterback? Is he going to keep being the backup quarterback? And if so, is he serviceable? And I think so. He's still got great production from the wideouts on this team. Now here's Pittman 12 targets, 9 receptions, 79 yards, negative game script though. Keep that in mind. Jacksonville had this game controlled pretty much from the get-go. And then Pierce had 8 targets, 5 receptions, 80 yards. You're going to be happy with both of their production in that game. I think you can trust them going forward because I think a negative game script may be in play. That's why I'm expecting a dip in production from JT. On the flip side of that, the Colts IDPs get a big boost in this. Jermaine Pratt, Zaire Franklin, don't worry about it. Start those guys. I get Buckner Quiddy Pay or one of the defensive ends coming off the edge as well. But the person that took the biggest hit in all this was Warren, man, Tyler Warren, and he had a terrible game. It was one of his worst games. Do you think he's going to be able to be trusted going into this week?
I mean, this was the second best matchup for tight ends, and he just really didn't give us anything, man. So, and the thing was, he almost salvaged his day. They gave him a gadget carry. He got stuffed at like the 1, right? So almost salvaged it. But in this landscape, because we didn't see a huge dip in his usage or anything like that, I'm just going to keep rolling him out there. I mean, if next week, Riley Leonard doesn't target him like at all again, then now we have a sample size and a trend, and we're going to stay away. But like he's been so good, and the play callers aren't going to stop calling plays for him. So I'm going to stick with him at least for one more week.
All right. I'm going to segue that into a guy that had 6 targets, 3 receptions, 27 yards. You panicking or you're not panicking? I'm Brendan Strange.
I told people I bet the under. I put my receipts out there. People were like getting over their skis on Brendan Strange. Anytime I see every tweet out there is a positive tweet and it's people betting, and I see the line move up from 36 yards where he was set to like 40. I bet it at 43.5, but I think it made it all the way up to like 46. I was like, I'm going under here because like this is a guy that got like the last couple of games. And here's the thing. I always tell people, I'm like, look, if this guy comes out and he gets 7 targets, then he gets 8 targets, then we can sit back and say, you know what? The floor is probably 4 or 5 targets and the ceiling now is 10. This guy got 4 targets and then 5 targets the last 2 games. Like, what exactly were you expecting? 6 targets is more than he got. Like he got more targets this week than he's been getting, and there were a couple plays that, there's a play that was called back. That was a touchdown that would have changed his whole day. And that's how it works in tight end. You get 5, 6, 7 targets and you either make a big chunk play or you don't. And that's why we steer away from some of these slower guys. And Strange isn't slow, but guys that run like a 4.8 or whatever, which I'll talk about next, those guys don't rip off chunk plays. They almost never do. And you need those plays at the tight end position. Any given day besides like Trey McBride, any given day, making 1 or 2 big plays or not is everything. Go watch the season for Kyle Pitts and how many times he just barely dropped a 30-yard bomb or hit a over-the-shoulder pass in the end zone that was underthrown. One of those plays changes your entire day for most of these guys. So Brendan Strange, he's probably still fine here, especially if Parker Washington remains out. But just know that like he's not a guy that, I don't know, were people expecting him to get like 11 targets? He's never happened. That's never been him.
What the expectation might be is because T-Law continues to ball, man. He's just going all out. 17 to 30, 244, 2 touchdowns in a blowout game. Yeah, he put a little extra on there with 16 rushing yards on 4 attempts. So, I just think you got to trust T-Law going forward. I know there's always doubt. There's these high expectations, but as Coop and I have said throughout this show this season, yeah, he's finally got a coach. Let's give it some time and see how it pans out. I look at ETN, fantastic game, 20 overall rushes, 1 reception, 82 scrimmage yards, 2 touchdowns. Just he's going to have an excellent playoff, I think. I think they're going to lean on him to secure the division. Myers, 10 targets.
Real quick in the chat here, okay. Bender was in on Strange. Bender had Strange in his DFS. Go to the DFS article for me that was published on Thursday. Go down to the fade section and see who's down there. Right, you can go to my Twitter and see the post, the tweet, the screenshot that says I made money on the under. No, at no point was I saying over on Brendan Strange. Bender was in on it, and you know what? Bender was in for a lot of good reasons. He got 6 targets, he just didn't connect on it. But don't pin that on me, Greg.
All
I think
right.
your bet's on me.
Appreciate that. Myers, 10 targets, Patrick, 6 targets. He kept looking to him. He dropped it and he went right back to him for the touchdown pass. T-Law did. So something to keep in mind that he has a lot of trust with Patrick. But then BTJ, 6 targets. All of them had 11 plus PPR points, whether it was because of touchdowns, because of yardage, or because of receptions. All right. T-Law is really making a great supporting cast. I think everything is there. This philosophy is rooted. And I think that the offense is showing its ability to be a fantasy football juggernaut for the playoffs in 2025 and beyond. So, that's pretty much it. All I got to say, Colts, like I said, be leery if you're a JT owner. You're probably going to get production, but it might not be what carries you through the playoff to get you to this point.
And the schedule is terrible for the Colts for rushing, to be honest. So Jaguars, look, you never root for injury, but this game could not have gone better for the Jaguars because now the division is they just took the lead in the division. They play this team again in 2 weeks, right? It's looking pretty good for them. So sorry, Bernard and the gang in the chat, but way she goes.
The Texans are a bigger threat than the Colts. I mean, that's the truth.
Speaking of a tough injury here, Zach Ertz assumed to have suffered a serious knee injury. And again, we don't know for sure. I mean, we've seen some bad looking injuries that didn't turn out to be that bad. Jaden Daniels looked like his arm was hanging off at the elbow, and he came back and played. Didn't play well and didn't look like he was fully healthy, but he played. So maybe Ertz is okay, but it didn't look good. For me, I'm not adding John Bates. John Bates runs a 4.8 9.40. He blocks on more than 30% of his pass plays. The last time we saw a tight end who runs a 4.8 finish top 5 in fantasy football was Heath Miller in 2012. We're talking over a decade ago. You need that explosiveness. And last year, when Zach Ertz missed a brief period in the tent with a possible concussion that he, just missed the end of one game and then cleared protocol, Ben Senna moved into the slot and played more slot snaps, completely leapfrogged John Bates into that Zach Ertz big slot role. If you want to take a bet here, bet on Ben Sinnott. Ben Sinnott is the only option for upside. Now, they could split the work, and neither one is relevant, but I'm not adding John Bates. You will never get me to add John Bates, not in Dynasty, not in any sort of format. So that is that on that. But probably what's going to happen here is Terry McLaurin and Deebo Samuel are going to be the top 2 wide receivers and the top 2 targets on the team, as they have been, right? And Noah Brown will be the wide receiver 3. And they probably will just rotate the tight ends, but if you're going to add anyone, it's Senate. Chris Rodriguez took a lot more of the work this week. Jacoby Krosky-Merritt only played 10 snaps. So at this stage, it's basically C-Rod is the starter. C-Rod gets the goal line work. Jeremy McNichols gets the pass work. That's how it works with that team. That's probably how it's going to be. So you can play it that way moving forward. On the Vikings side, we got your, I know, Greg, I didn't want to pin that on me, but skip this one. He wants to skip it. But you were right, dude. So I'll give you that. You said start on the Friday show. You said start JJ McCarthy. We didn't want to go that far, but hey, could have worked, man. He did look good, leading the team in a positive game script, just running the offense. As far as the weapons, Aaron Jones led in all phases, despite his AC joint shoulder issue. So he's the guy. He got most of the pass work and then split the run work with Jordan Mason. So you see Mason do some of that between the tackles business. And then for routes, out of possible 30, Jefferson ran 24, Addison ran 24, Hawk ran 20, Naylor ran 20, Josh Oliver only ran 8. So if you're thinking it's the Josh Oliver is happening season, it is not. It is just, they forget about him sometimes, and he sneaks out and he scores. So there you go. Anything else on those ones before we jump on the next game?
No, that's it for me, man. Going to an AFC East battle. Go through this one quickly just to keep Bender from tearing up there. But Tua, he's one of those players that are decent for reality and terrible for fantasy football. Even the year he led the league in pass yards, he wasn't that good for fantasy football. So he had 13, 127 and a touchdown. I had to play him in one of my leagues this week. I lost in the league that I had him. Drake May, where are you when we need you? Achan, he left the game. That's the big news, all right? He left the game. It's like, what's he doing? He's on the sideline. He went to the back. Rib damage, took a pretty big hit to the midsection there. No fractures. They said he could have played if they needed him, but they didn't need him against the Jets. So they're just being cautious. He should be good to go for Week 15. And I know if you're an HN owner and you're in the playoffs, you're relying on him. So just keep relying on him. Once again, Waddle, the other person we talked about, that's the only other person really worth owning on this offense. He had 6 touches. He had a 21-yard rush, 50 scrimmage yards, and he had 1 touchdown. So, a great game from that standpoint. Did everything you could ask for in a blowout victory. And then finally, my Dulcich breakout game, 3-3-41. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. Finally, after all those years in the Broncos, he had the breakout. It is only 7.1 points, though. I don't know what to expect. We're expecting more from Waller. I think he's banged up. But, Dulcich has been getting a lot of looks. So if you're in a bind at tight end position, maybe go take a look.
Yeah, they split the routes right down the middle, which is a shame because we were hoping Waller would take over because Waller gets the Bengals coming up week 16. So, we'll have to see. But, yeah, hard to trust either of them the way they were used.
Knox Kincaid game for both of them coming back, man.
Look who's saying what up in the chat, dude. The king in the house here.
Scott Eagle. What's up, man?
Big Seahawks fan here. So there he is saying what up. Also was saying what up in the chat is our guy Matty Strauss. Won both games yesterday, regular season first place, and Matty's our guy that runs USA Sports Fan Chain. So folks, if you haven't grabbed one yet, this is one of our favorite new guys we have a deal with, man. These things are super high quality. They're got a weight to them, but they're not like dragging you down heavy, right? Cheaper than the competitor, made in the US. If you haven't gotten one, get one now. Still 5% off through the holidays if you use promo code ALARM. They're still hooking us up for a little bit. So yeah, go ahead and get your USA Sports Fan Chain. You can hit this QR code and it'll zap you over there. These puppies are legit. And it's a gift that you can get for the whole league. Of course you could just buy it for yourself, which rocks, or you could. Anytime someone wins the league, they get one. And then, anyone who's won the league rolls into the draft rocking a chain or rocking 2 chains or whatever. I like the idea of getting one for the league and passing it around. Whoever wins gets to rock it for the draft and keep it with them and flaunt it, because that's what it's all about. When you win, you want to make sure you got something to hang in your buddy's face and be like, shut up, So that's really what USA Sports Fan Chains is all about. And they have ones for the losers too. They have ones for every sport. They also have ones you can get like the toilet ones for the losers, which is funny too. So shout out to our guy, Matty Strauss, winning his leagues and winning in the sports chain business, baby. Let's go. So, all right, Jet side, brother. We said we were going to keep it quick today. We're actually on the slowest pace we've ever been on. So
I know. I've been trying to keep it going. Brady cook does not mean let Tom Brady cook. Hold up, let Brady cook. That was not what happened with the Jets. It was quite the opposite. I don't know what we're going to do with the Jets. If Fields isn't back, Tyrod can't play, we are in trouble if you have Jets players, starting with Breece Hall, probably the most owned fantasy football player from the Jets. We're going to have to monitor that situation as a whole. I don't know if we can go out and trust him to get the volume, if he's not going to see 18 boxes and they're going to dare whoever's at quarterback to pass against them. But you're probably going to have to start him. Mason Taylor, 8 targets, 5 receptions, 51 yards. I think he's startable next week. But like I said, everything depends on the quarterback situation.
Yeah, let me ask you. So the Mason Taylor at times will be held in to block when they face difficult pass rushers. So, like, for instance, against the Browns, he stayed in and blocked for a big chunk of the game. Against the Falcons, he blocked on 10 pass plays. Jaguars coming up next. Is that a team where you think they might keep him in, or do you think he maybe is free to roam?
Definitely, Josh Hines Allen is a big time pass rush, and they've been using Lloyd a little bit out of the middle as well. Probably wouldn't affect him as a tight end as much, but yeah. But I mean, just with the tight end landscape, I think
the thing is, the Jags have been terrible against the tight end, so that's the problem you run into with him is that like he kind of, because they use him as like an extra tackle kind of sometimes for pass rush, you never quite know what you're going to get. But I think he'll be on the DFS radar, given 8 targets and because it's the Jags.
Yeah,
so we'll see. Next game here, Saints Buccaneers. Devin Neal got virtually all the carries. Austin Estime just played like a little bit. 10 snaps. Devin Neal got like 50, so he's locked in. Same thing with the top 3 options. Olave, Devon Vele, and Juwan Johnson are the clear top 3. The thing is, once they got into a little positive game script, they did use some more of the blocking tight ends. But Juwan Johnson has been pretty solid in most weeks, so I'm not really going to shy away from him on this one. And then Tyler Shuck, I mean, here's the thing with him. We know he's capable of throwing for 250 yards. We know he can get the ball to Johnson and Vele and Olave, which, he can throw 1 or 2 touchdowns any given week. But he's also run now 6 times at least in each of the last 3 weeks, 6 or 7 times. He's not going to run for 2 touchdowns every week like he did this week. But just having that on the table creates a decent floor for him. So not afraid to potentially use him in 2 QB leagues or potentially spot start if you need him. On the Buccaneers side, for the running back split, Bucky Irving started and Rachaad White got the obvious pass work, especially the pass block work. So if you look at like the snaps for Rachaad White and you're like, okay, he played a good number of snaps, didn't really get a lot of carries, didn't really run that many routes. Where were the other snaps? Pass blocking. That's what he was doing. So they trust him in the pass block game. Doesn't stop us from starting Bucky Irving, who looks pretty good. So Bucky's a guy here. White is like, wherever you file away like Justice Hill and those type guys, Isaiah Davis, LaQuinn Allen, Rachaad White, to me, better than those guys. But like probably where you put like Tajay Spears, right, in the rankings for Rachaad White.
Tajay Spears, maybe a little ahead of Spears.
Spears been catching a lot of passes, bro.
Yeah, he has been catching more passes.
But White gets more carries. So yeah, okay. But put Rachaad White just ahead of Tajay Spears out of respect. Yeah. This week we saw Chris Godwin actually get back up to a full route share. 32 routes for Egbuka, 32 routes for Godwin. The boy is back. The question is, what happens if Mike Evans comes back? Because no team uses 3 wide receivers every snap. There are going to be some extra tight end, goal line stuff. There's going to be, 2 running back sets. There's going to be these little weird formations, and somebody's got to come out. Who is it going to be? Is it going to be Egbuka? Is it going to be Godwin? Probably not going to be Evans coming out, but maybe they do ease Evans back in. So that's something we got to watch here. That's going to determine like who ends up being the league winner type guys. For me, I'll probably just start all 3 of them because it's Baker Mayfield and he just likes to huck it, chuck it. K. Dotton is a guy I no longer trust though. I'm not using K. Dotton anywhere. We could barely trust him when 3 out of 4 wide receivers were hurt. Now that 2 are back and possibly 3, thanks, but no thanks, Cade. Anything else on that one?
Yeah, just real quick, I got to ask you, Matthew Stafford for Tyler Shaw in a dynasty league. I'm 3rd. I gave up Shuck and a 2nd-round pick for Stafford in a 4th. I'm 3rd. Like I said, it's an IDP league. It's a best ball dynasty league, so it's just the best ball super flex. Do you think that's the right move if I'm making a push?
Obviously, dude. I mean, Chuck's still we still don't know if he's the guy. You know what I mean? Like we see this all the time where like people they get over their skis with Davis Mills and Desmond Ridder and the Commanders guy Howard. Like people just see like, oh, this guy's starting and he's got a couple decent fantasy games. Like we don't know if this guy is a career, like if he's even going to be an NFL caliber player, and you just got a Hall of Famer. So
all right, yeah, that's true. Denver versus Las Vegas, pretty much a blowout game. Bo Nix, he's a true dual threat quarterback, man. I think we're going to trust him for the playoffs. Not the greatest production, not what we drafted him at, but the floor has just been consistently so high with him that we can't turn away from him. RJ Harvey has finally delivered on Coop's projection. 23 catches. I talked about him a lot last week while Coop wasn't here with us. He's put the games together. Sean Payton's like, that's my guy. 23 touches, 100 scrimmage yards, 1 touchdown. I don't think Dobbins is going to come back for the fantasy football playoffs, if the season at all. So you're pretty safe with Harvey. Ingram 2 for 8 this week, just laughable. What else can you do? It's terrible. I told you guys last week Trotman's not going to go anywhere. He's going to continue to eat into Ingram production. Guess what? He was the leader in production at the tight end position. Right. 2 for 17. And I
warned people too. People were like, "Oh, wheels up for Ingram here." And I was like, "No, part-time player still." And also, the Raiders have quietly been one of the better teams against the tight end. I don't know. They just the allocation and Jamal Adams. What's that?
Palomoa.
Right, Palomoa and Jamal Adams. They're over the over the middle. They've been fine. Everywhere else they've been terrible. But like that's been a problem for tight ends against the Raiders. So I kind of try and steer away from that. This isn't the first tight end that they've shut down, and we've sat back and been like, what? Like Aronde Gadsden didn't do anything against them either. So just be careful with that matchup.
Sutton put up production, no touchdown for him, but he still did all right in PPR formats. Pat Bryant was the clear wide receiver 2. Franklin has got put away. Marvin Mims has been put away. If you didn't get that return touchdown from Mims, you didn't get anything. I think you have 1.8 points in fantasy PPR formats. So, nothing there. And then the third wide receiver was Little Jordan Humphrey. I don't know if that's going to keep continuing. You cannot trust that. But Pat Bryant is a, deep leagues wide receiver 3 flex option. He's got a solid floor. He's a big guy. So I think he's going to continue to do well for the Broncos. Part of the reason the tight ends are shut down so well, Devin White, man, he had 19 tackles for the Raiders. That is going to continue to happen. I mean, he was not drafted hardly in any leagues. I picked him up in a couple auction leagues, but he's the man, dude. 19 tackles. The Raiders defense is continue to be relevant in IDP leagues because I don't know what happened to Geno. I don't know if it's first round pick, picket time or if what's going to happen over there. Either way, it doesn't look good, but somehow Bowers continues to be quarterback proof. He's just that good. He's just going to line up. He's going to beast out on whatever safety or linebacker or nickel corner they try to put on him, and he's just going to continue to dominate. So you're going to put Bowers in regardless. The truth is, Genty, I don't know if you have to play him for the playoffs. The proof is there that, man, he may not be well. We have no idea what's going on in our backfield from the quarterback perspective. Our head coaches, our offensive coordinator has been let go. Our backup has not been able to put up production. It's Pete Carroll's son. And then Genty, he had 12 touches for 38 scrimmage yards. You cannot rely on that in the playoffs. That's terrible. It's terrible. Beck led the team in targets, receptions, and yards. Is that a Pickett thing? Probably. Can you trust it going forward? Maybe. Lockett 7.1 points. Yeah, some deep flex value there, but wide receivers are going to be difficult to trust. I think it's pretty much Bowers, and that's about it. If you want my honest take on the Raiders, as somebody that is a commissioner of a big league, 100 leagues, the worst teams in every league have been teams that are overloaded on Raiders. I don't think that's going to change for the playoffs.
Mm-hmm. I had an opportunity to trade Ashton Genty and Brian Thomas Jr. right after week 2 for Jonathan Taylor and DK Metcalf in a league, and I didn't do it because I didn't like Metcalf. But looking back, I should have just done the trade. Regardless, should have just done the trade, the two of them for Taylor. It would have been a good move. So that hurts. But hey, what are you gonna do? Death Wish, dude. Awesome that you made it, dude. Sometimes you have the down weeks that are just enough to get through. Hopefully in Scott Fishbowl, I had a down week, but I might be able to sneak through depending on what happens tonight. Natty Strauss, quick IDP question for you, buddy. Where does he go here with Nick Cross and which two out of these three?
Man, Love's hard to trust. I think I got to go Cross. I just talked about it. Them been getting an uptick, and then Tampa Bay, always never puts the game away so their defense can break. So I like McCollum as well. Give me Cross and McCollum here. Thanks for the
Julian
question.
Love's first game back. Did he play a full snap share?
That's what I was saying. I didn't know with his injury if we could trust him.
He didn't. He only played 20 snaps.
Yeah, that's yeah. I know he didn't stand out in anything. So yeah, you got to go with Cross and McCollum here.
Yeah, came back and missed 2 tackles, it says. So yeah, I agree on that one, even though I'm not a big IDP guy, but just wanted to see with Love. And that's probably why Pitts had such a good game. Love only come back play 20 out of 60 something snaps, and no wonder Pitts. That team's probably still going to be bad against the tight end if he's not going to be a full-time player. So
something to keep in mind. Yeah.
Something to keep in mind. Something else to keep in mind. This Rams team, real deal, huh?
Yeah.
Potentially they're actually also kind of treating things right now like they're locked in. They even said we're going to ease up on Kyron Williams going into trying to get him healthy for the playoffs. Blake Corum's been playing 30% of the snaps every week. And a lot of those include plays where he's getting the ball. He's only 30%. He doesn't have a defined role. It's not like, oh, we're going to use Corum for pass downs or we're going to use Corum for goal line. It's just basically they're spelling Kyron with him, but he's the top handcuff right now, and he's a handcuff plus. Where if you're back against the wall, you can start him. Because this was a blowout, they rotated again. Devontae Adams played a bit less than usual because they were winning by so much, and he's got the hamstring thing he's been working his way through. So they kind of just played Kanata Mumfield and these other guys. Don't worry about that. Then Colby Parkinson, he's a clear third fiddle here. They do rotate the tight ends. Not really a guy I ever want to use, but desperation play. He'll be a tier 6 type guy for me with AJ Barner, where it's if you got nothing and you need something, he's something, but he's not everything, if that makes any sense, folks. On the Cardinals side, Michael Wilson and Trey McBride have been everything. As long as Marv is out, Michael Wilson's going to rock and roll. And it looks like even when Marv plays, it's going to be highly consolidated among the 3 of those guys. So You can lean on those guys. Andre Bocelli served as wide receiver 2. Jalen Brooks, just coming out of nowhere, was a distant wide receiver 3. Elijah Higgins did run 34 routes, only got 1 target. It was like a screen. He didn't do anything with it. So DFS play didn't pay off for us. Dude, if I lose in Scott Fishbowl, it will be because I started Elijah Higgins over. Like, I could have started Chimere Dike, Dawson Knox. I could have started Mike Gesicki. All 3 of those guys got like 25 plus points. So tinkering, lesson in tinkering. And that's why I will say, I admit all the time, I'm like, I do things with my lineups because I feel I get crazy that I would never advise people to do. There you go. There's an example right there. So you got to root for me for Justin Herbert and Jalen Hurts tonight to save me from myself. Michael Carter played more than Bam Knight. Bam Knight started, but Michael Carter's the pass down back. When you lose 45-17, your pass down back plays more. Bam Knight is still the guy until we see Trey Benson. If Amari DiMercado comes back, he'll play over Michael Carter, but we really don't know. This team is all banged up. Michael Carter, Trey Benson has until Wednesday to get activated or he is done for the year. So he better show them something over the next couple days because that 21-day window closes. And if you don't activate a guy to the active roster, he remains on IR for the rest of the year. Anything else on that Rams-Cardinals?
No, nothing to say about that NFC West match. Let's get to the division everybody cares about, the NFC North, baby. You know what? I started Bam Knight in a league where I only have 1 bench spot. And the reason I did is because I had Kyle Monunga. I was a cuss playoff team. I was like, that questionable tag, they got me, man. I fell for the rookie bait on the questionable tag with Kyle Monunga because he had 29 snaps, 15 touches, 57 yards. He was banging away at that really great Packers defense, man. Something we're going to have to monitor going forward because Swift, he had 40 snaps, 11 more, 16 touches, only 1 more touch, 82 scrimmage yards. Totally got saved with the pass yard. But Nunguy's the real deal. If you can hold on to him, hold on to him. Kalen Williams is the real deal too. Coop, he's going to be the best USC quarterback to come out and play quarterback in the NFL. Willie Wood, as a Hall of Famer quarterback back in the day, he converted to safety for Lombardi, of course, and the rest was history. But Williams had 19 for 186, 2 touchdowns, 4 rushes for 15 yards, and he escaped pressure time and time again. Kalen Williams is good for fantasy. He's good for reality too. The wide receiver room, I hate to break it to everybody, Burden was right, just like Coop said. 6 targets, 4 receptions, 67 yards. So you got double digits from Burden, but Romeo's the guy on this team. I said it at the beginning of the year, DJ Moore is peaked. He's no longer going to be relevant for fantasy football. That's true beyond a shadow of a doubt. But Burden is stepping it up, but he really needs Romeo to be there so he can go against the second best coverage person on the opposing team. I think Burden is going to be great. If Romeo can come back next week, they're both going to be really good, I think. Commit 3 targets, 2 receptions, 42 yards. Loveland kind of stole the show with 5 targets, 4 receptions, 29 yards, and that big touchdown. Are they both serviceable? Real quick, Cooper? No.
No. If one of them were to get, Colson Loveland is the guy I'm looking to start. He runs more routes every week than Komet. Komet's like your inline tight end. To be honest, Komet right now there's not a huge difference between him and guys like Noah Gray and to be honest, like Austin Hooper, where it's like they go out, sometimes they catch 2 passes, right? Sometimes, but they're never going to get like 8-9 targets. You know what I mean? Like in a range of outcomes world that we live in, we want to be starting guys that we think the floor is 2 catches for 20 or 2 catches for 42. And the medium range outcome is 5 targets and 4 catches. And the upside is 10 targets. Like if Komet were to go down and Komet and Odunze were to be out, then Loveland, we'd push him up. Now is the time to acquire Loveland in Dynasty because clearly he's the guy. And with a lot of these teams, when they draft these players, if Loveland didn't play at all this year, they don't give up on him because they're developing the player, right? Like Terrence Ferguson, the Rams like Terrence Ferguson. He's just not ready to be an every down player. Same with Loveland. So you go out and get this guy because he's going to be the guy. The fact that he's even beating out Cole Kmet, an incumbent player that they've paid a lot of money to for pass work, is huge. That's a huge positive. We just live in a world where everybody wants everything right now.
Well, and the other thing is the tight end playbook is complex. There's a reason the tight end is most of the times the
Right.
emergency quarterback before we had this new situation where you can roster run without a penalty is because the tight ends know the playbook more than anybody due to the complexity of the position.
Yeah.
So
You
that's why
got to know the blocking schemes, and you got to know who, you know what I mean? Like, because you're up there a lot of
checks for the
times.
passes, checks for the blocking, all the
Right.
you got to know your motion. Like there's a
Who's
lot
the
of
Mike? Who's the yeah? Like you got to know all that. The wide receivers a lot of times. It's so funny. You hear some of these players talk about it. Like some of the wide receivers, when they hear like the lineman going like, "Who's the Mike? Who's this?" They don't even know what that means. Like they asked, I forget who it was. They have to ask the defensive lineman for the Commanders what he thought about Jackson Smith and Jigba, and he's like, "Who's that?" He's like, He's like, the tape I watch is of all the their offensive line and like what their schemes are. He's like, I don't know. Is he good? He's like, that's not my assignment. Like it's some of these guys, like it's funny, but like it's a job to them and they worry about their job.
Yeah,
So
it's so complex. Football's a complex game. Real quick on the Packers, Jordan Love, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. I think he's going to be a playoff darling. He was a late drafted quarterback. A lot of people probably got rid of him in that time when he didn't have great games. They're unleashing it on him right now. They're letting him kind of have full reign of the playbook.
Toyotathon. What do you think about the Toyotathon narrative?
Yeah, dude, the December to remember for sure. I think there's a lot of truth to that. There should be when you play at Lambeau. There should be that narrative in December, but Jordan Love's just lived up to it. I do think there's certain quarterbacks that are cold weather quarterbacks. Jim Kelly played in Florida his whole life, went to Buffalo. Guess what? He was made for the cold weather. I just think that's a true narrative that you find. I think Jordan Love fits it.
Right.
Jacobs had 20 rushes, 86.
It has nothing to do with imported vehicles. It's just the timing, right? It happens. It just so happens to line up. But I love it. I love that.
Yeah, I mean, I just thought that was because of the cliche December to remember. Yeah, I mean,
no, that's real. Somebody pulled the stat. Wait, have you not seen that?
I guess not. No.
Somebody pulled the stats on him during Toyotathon over the last his whole career, and it's nuts. It's like 4,000 passing yards, 31 touchdowns, only 1 pick, 31 plays of like 20 plus yards. Like I didn't know about it either until Brian Houck brought it up on the Sirius XM show. But somebody did pull it, and he's like insane whenever Toyotathon's running. So, but you're right. It's mostly based on the weather, probably. And
yeah, I mean, he's a, you know what? And to go off, I was trying to get through this real quick. Watson and Reed, they're gonna lead the team. Nobody's been a bigger Dobbs stand than me. You're looking at him right here. But Watson and Reed are just bring a different skill set that are available. Dobbs will still go to on a couple third downs. He didn't make the catches, but he still trusts him in kind of panic emergency situations. He's looking for Dobbs more. But when he's got time to set up plays, he's looking for Watson and Reed, and that's how this playbook's going to continue to go. And then real quick, I just want to say about Jordan Love, Tom Brady said something I found really interesting in the commentary in the game at Lambeau. He said, the cold weather, I loved it because my mentals were still at 100%, while the defense's physical abilities are not at 100% due to the cold. He said, so I always felt like I had the advantage in the cold weather because I was still running at 100%. And I knew even if they were running at 95, 96, 97, that could give me enough of a window to take advantage of.
Yeah, and he was a freak in the cold. I mean,
he's great cold weather. Michigan, New England. I mean, come on.
He used to always say snow turns him into a machine. We said we'd get you guys out of here in a half hour to 45 minutes, so we just did a regular hour show, as always. So might as well wrap it up. I know Mile High Luke was hoping to avoid this one, but Texans defense is the real deal, folks. Man, they were popping people. Just putting hats on the ball, hats on chests. I mean, Rashee Rice got absolutely ragdolled. They're a physical team, man. They play tough. So try and stay away from the Texans defense whenever possible for tight ends, for wide receivers, for pretty much everybody. On offense, Nico Collins he ran 33 routes, 8 targets. Schultz ran 31 routes, got 3 targets. Jaden Higgins, we want him to play more. He's not quite playing more. So it's not fully wheels up. He's still a guy that I'm stashing, still a guy that I'm starting in certain spots. He plays in all the 2 wide receiver sets, which definitely helps him, especially in the red area. But he rotates with Xavier Hutchinson, some of the 3 wide receiver sets. So he only ran 19 routes. He still got 5 targets, more than Schultz. So again, he's still a fringe start sit guy. I would love for him just to play more, but they don't see it that way just yet. Nick Chubb left early with a rib injury, so Woody Marks played 61 snaps. If Chubb is going to be out with this rib issue, it's Marks wheels up because that was the only thing holding him back from being an every down player. On the Chiefs side, it's still Rice, Kelsey, and Worthy. Those are the guys. I don't trust Worthy. I was telling people this offseason he's a best ball guy to me, but he's not even popping for the big plays. Where's this 4.29 speed? He hasn't really had many games with more than 80 yards. Just don't trust that guy. Rice and Kelsey are guys for me that I'm just going to start. Like, this is a bad matchup. I'm going to go right back to starting him. I don't worry about last week's matchup. We move forward. Kareem Hunt is still the starter, and he plays virtually all the pass downs. This week, Isaiah Pacheco did split more early down work, and he did split more of the short yardage work. So it's still Hunt over Pacheco for me, but keep an eye on that because maybe Pacheco ends up being the starter and Hunt only plays pass downs. Who knows where that's going to go, and who knows if this Kansas City Chiefs team is going to make the playoffs or not.
I said it a few weeks ago. I don't expect them to. I told you I didn't expect the Colts to win the AFC South. Those are just kind of showing. Like I said, it becomes about running and it becomes about defense. D'Amico Ryan's, the Texans were my number one preseason defense special teams because I knew their identity. I knew it when they brought in the players that they brought in. Why would you bring in Nick Chubb, who's well past his prime? Because you need that guy that's going to get 3, maybe 4 yards when he touches the ball so you can set up an easy third down because you're eating the clock, you're trying to sustain drives, and you're trying to allow your defense to win the game. That's who D'Amico Ryan is. That's who the Texans are going to continue to be. They're going to be a very tough team to have an out against, and you have their defense. If you're playing against their defense, like Coop said, expect a dip in production. It's going to happen. The data is there. It happens virtually against every team. They are well built defensively. And then the Chiefs, man, they're done. But from a fantasy football perspective, I think we're going to get a lot out of Kelsey. We might get some out of Rice. Hunt is just out producing Pacheco. He outsnapped him. For sure. I don't think that you can do anything else. I think you got to go with Hunt.
Yeah, and you're right. And what is with Chiefs players injuring their teammates here? I did forget that, Kelsey did crush Worthy, and last year Mahomes hurt Rice. I mean, who knows? I wouldn't rule the Chiefs out just yet. Hey, since we made it this far, Iggy, might as well to talk about mention a couple thoughts on the night game. I mean, a lot of people have their hopes on this Eagles team. Highly consolidated offense. I do not trust Dallas Goedert. I advise people not to start Dallas Goedert against Derwin James and this crew. Dallas Goedert hasn't given you anything in a month. But he doesn't catch passes versus man-to-man. He doesn't get end zone targets. So good luck if you got Goddard. Everybody else, though, your upside is as good as it always is for Eagles players. And any given week, they can give you something awesome. On the Chargers side, a little more dicey. If you had to pick a Chargers pass catcher tonight, Iggy, to throw into a DFS showdown lineup, which one you like best?
I got to go with Ladd. I'm always going to go with Ladd,
Yeah. Yeah, it's still got to be Ladd, man. It's still got to be Ladd.
If you're like, what guy's going to lead them on third downs? That is Keenan Allen. He's going to be the third down guy. Yeah. Herbert, like I said, it's not joking. Like once his pain medication starts to wear off through the first half, he's not, he's going to be a different player in the second half than he is in the first half. I just expect it. Khalil Mack, can he get to Jalen Hurts? I think that's a big question. Khalil Mack kind of chasing Hall of Fame, kind of chasing some upper echelon sack, company. I think that'll be interesting to watch as well.
Yeah, for Herbert, like here's the thing about the injury for him. Same thing with Baker Mayfield. It really, for them, is about the ability to take a snap and hand the ball off without fumbling it. I think we're going to see a lot of shotgun tonight, right? Because like these guys will play through pain. Baker Mayfield and Justin Herbert. Like if the staff came to him and said, "Oh, it's a pain tolerance thing," they would just play the whole game. You know what I mean? Like that's not the problem. The problem is whether he could hold on to the football. We're going to find out pretty early whether that's the case. If Herbert is fumbling the ball, if Herbert fumbles the ball in the first quarter, live bet the Eagles as quickly as possible. Right? You know what I mean? Because like if he can't hold on to the football, that's going to change whether he can play or not. Though on the flip side, if he can, we watch Baker. Baker, one arm, his left arm's all messed up. Doesn't matter. He's still slinging it. I think Herbert's the same way. If he can play, it's his left hand. Who cares? Like he could be fine. I think he's going to be getting the ball out a little bit quicker. I tried to avoid Oronde Gadsden, folks. This Eagles defense, bottom three top three versus the tight end. Very difficult tight end matchup. For me, it's the Texans, the Eagles, and the Bills are the toughest tight end matchups. Is there anybody I missed there, Iggy? Those are really the ones to avoid, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I have in my article every week, if you check the waiver wire article at the bottom, there's 5 different color designations. There's terrible matchup, which is those 3 teams. There's some teams that I have in orange that are kind of tough. Yellow is neutral. Then there's some that are okay. And then there's a couple matchups like the Bengals and the Jaguars that it's really good. So that'll be in there. Thank you everybody for joining us. We got, like we said, we got you out of here in 1 hour sharp. Definitely what the plan was. We're going to keep doing this for as long as you guys want us to do it, probably at least through the fantasy playoffs. Once we get to the NFL playoffs, we'll have some other content for you, some FFPC stuff and all that. So, Iggy, before we get them on out of here, you have anything else to say to the folks out there?
Yeah, I just want to say go Pack go, and as always, our typical
Adios, turd nuggets.